Hello, hello, and hello. I am back with another episode of Chinese Chippy Girl. I am your host, Georgie Ma, or Ma Puyu. And actually, here's a little fun fact about me. My surname, Ma, means horse in Chinese. Not that many people know that. Today, I am absolutely buzzing to work with Chinatown on their campaign, Our Chinatown, hashtag Our Chinatown, which has been put together in light of EC Heritage Month in the UK. The Our Chinatown campaign explores what Chinatown means to different people, whether it's the EC community, East and Southeast Asian community, tourists, people just walking through, strolling through Chinatown to grab some lunch, students, or even people who work in Chinatown. This beautiful campaign has been put together to connect everyone who has stepped foot in Chinatown. And what better way to tie this in with EC Heritage Month that has been kickstarted by my girls at Be Seen. Weep, weep, Be Seen. Now, before I introduce you to my guests, I just want to take a step back and tell everyone how much Chinatown means to me. It's actually coming up to my London anniversary. I moved here at the end of September in 2007. I moved from Edinburgh and I said goodbye to my mum, my sister, and my niece and nephews who were really small children at the time. I remember a few months after we moved down to London, I started to really miss my family. I missed my Tuesday sessions that I would have with my mum, where we would just hang out, have some dim sum after I finished work. I miss my nieces and nephews putting on my hair and hearing them telling me that they love me in Chinese, because I used to force them to tell me that they love me. And I miss visiting my sister's restaurant and walking into the kitchen, smelling the food and hearing the banging and the sizzling from the wok. I remember I took a bus, the number 44 bus from Battersea to Chinatown, and I went to a Chinese bakery called Sanlun, which is closed down now. But anyway, I went to Sanlun and I ordered a dan tak, a Hong Kong style tea, and a tassie bao. And I sat in this cafe and I honestly just sobbed. I just cried and cried. I was feeling really sad, but equally just sitting by the door and people watching, it just made me feel so nostalgic, and it brought back so many happy memories when I used to come to London as a kid, where we used to go into supermarkets and I used to watch my mum picking all the chai and looking at all the packets of dried vegetables that she would put in her tong, which is Chinese soup. And just hearing the Cantonese speakers just really warmed my heart, and just knowing that I could understand this language just made me smile so much. And when I was sat in this bakery, the smell of the sweet buns, the dan tak, and even if I wasn't eating it, I can just, even just the smell was enough for me to taste the bakery. I left the bakery and I went for a wander around Chinatown, and immediately I felt so happy and so wholesome. I mean, I still miss my family, but equally, I felt right at home. And I was only meant to be in London for 1 year, but 14 years later, I'm still living in London. And to be honest with you, if it wasn't for Chinatown, my whole London experience would be so different. But anyway, that's enough of my little story about when I moved to London. But I just thought I'd share it because honestly, because honestly, Chinatown London just means so much to me. But anyway, let's crack on with the show. I am absolutely honoured to have not one, but two guests on this episode. I've got Lucy, the Managing Director of SeeWoo Group, an EC, East and Southeast Asian supermarket that opened in the 70s, and Emily, owner of Cuppacha and Taiyakiya. You can find them both in Chinatown, London. And yeah, I've got them on my show. Yay! Absolutely amazing.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, this is so nice. And also, this is the first time that I've had three people on my show. So it's a bit like, oh, okay. But thank you so much for coming on my show. I know that I've just done a very small introduction, but for you both, but I wondered if you can just introduce yourself just a little bit more. Lucy, do you want to go first?
Sure, no problem. So hi, and thank you so much again for having me. Very excited to be here. So I'm Managing Director of SeeWoo Group, as you said, which is the SeeWoo store in Chinatown, in Lyle Street in Chinatown. But it's also a manufacturing site in Park Royal, Whalem Foods, where we make ho fan, dim sum, chili oils, chung fan. And it's also an import and distribution site in Park Royal, where we import goods from the Far East, and then we distribute those to restaurants, food service businesses, airline lounges, schools, universities, you name it, across the UK. So it's three very different areas of the business to look after.
Oh, wow. Oh, lovely. Thank you for the intro. And Emily, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me today. I'm so excited to be on here. So I'm the owner of Cuppacha, which means cup of tea, and then Cuppacha, so like cha, because in Chinese we call tea and then like cha. So that's how this name come up to Cuppacha as a bubble tea shop. And also Tayakiya, a dessert ice cream shop, which is a Japanese fish waffle dessert shop. And both of them is in Chinatown, Newport Court. And we have been trading in Chinatown since 2012 till now. Sounds like ages, but it seems like just yesterday. It's like days just pass so quickly. And I think that's also how Chinatown experience to everybody. It's like when you are there, you just feel so excited and fascinated with everything that they have to offer there, like the supermarket, desserts, and meal as well. So yeah.
Oh, and Emily, could you remind me when you opened up in Chinatown? Did you open them both up in 2012?
No, Cupcha was 2012, and then more recently, I've been like 2 years now.
Right, okay. Oh, amazing. So thanks for the intros. Lucy, if you wouldn't mind, I'd just quite like to start off with you, because I know that you guys have been open for quite a long time. So you've probably been at the heart of Chinatown since almost the beginning. And I'd like to kind of like delve a little bit more to see how you think, you know, Chinatown has kind of evolved since you guys have opened. Do you have any stories, or can you share more about that?
I've got loads of stories. How much time have you got? No, so you're right. You touched on we opened in 1975. The story behind my father, who is quite a character. If you've ever met him, or if any of your listeners to the podcast have, they will know. My father Stanley, who was the founder of the SeeWoo Group, originally had restaurants. So he had, when I was growing up, a Chinese restaurant in Bushi, which was very famous, with lots of famous celebrity customers going in. And the reason that he took the first store in Lyle Street in Chinatown was because he found it so hard to get authentic ingredients for his restaurant. So he would start to import with his brothers and some friends, and they'd start out of a garage out, in our home. And then there's this very sweet little story about how one of his regulars in the restaurant, who he always used to give a liqueur to after dinner, was an estate agent. And he phoned Stanley up and said, "Do you want to shop in Chinatown?" And that's how it all began. Yeah, I know, it's so funny. So all to do with the Baileys or the Tia Maria or whatever he was drinking. So basically, so that's how the first store came about. And the first store was number 19. And then gradually over the years, as the stores next door became available, the family took on, another and another and another. And so now we're 4. In terms of stories growing up, so I was born in 1972. So I was 3 when they opened the supermarket in 1975. So really through the whole of my childhood, Chinatown has been a really important part of it. And going back to what I think you've both said, touched on is just how exciting and sort of what a sensory assault Chinatown is. You close your eyes and you just smell it when you're sort of standing outside, and all the star anise and the herbs and just that amazing smell. It sort of makes you feel at home immediately. But when I was a kid, it was very different to how it is now. So it was very Cantonese Chinese, Hong Kong Chinese. My father used to go into Chinatown after he'd finished his shift at the restaurant, his restaurant, like 1 a.m, and eat noodles with his friends. It was a very inaccessible place if you weren't Chinese then. So I think that the restaurants didn't cater for anyone that wasn't Chinese. And the only people who would venture into Chinatown, unless they were Chinese, would be people who were very well travelled, who, you know, potentially were comfortable and familiar with Chinese food. So when I was a kid, Chinese New Year, for example, was, you know, really busy, but not on the scale it is now. So it was, you know, again, just really sort of Cantonese Chinese families. You know, SeeWoo was always a family supermarket. People coming to do their weekly shop. You know, I was working in the supermarket from, not sure what age. It's probably illegal to say it, isn't it? Probably slave labor. Probably like you were in the chippy, but
honestly, just say it. It's fine.
Yeah, so I can't remember. So probably from 8 or 10, you know, packing cashew nuts, working on the tills. I couldn't speak Chinese because I'm actually mixed race. So my mum's English, my dad's Chinese. So customers would shout at me in Cantonese and I would have no idea what they were saying. And I can remember Chinese New Year being sat. It's a very old building. It's a 200-year-old building that we're in. And I can remember being sat up in what was the staff canteen for the lion dance and, you know, sort of peering out the window. And it was just so exciting. And, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. But as you know, today, Chinese New Year, first of all, is the first major festival in the calendar for the UK. I think London Chinatown is one of the best Chinatowns in the world, biggest, most vibrant, most progressive. And I think what's been really lovely for me in my journey at SeeWoo for the last 17 years is that I've seen Chinese New Year really grow, you know, so many different, it's so diverse. It's lovely to see so many people enjoying it, celebrating, wanting to come and eat the food, wanting to buy the decorations, wanting to watch the lion dance, because it's so infectious, isn't it? The drum and so I feel really proud of that journey. I think that Chinatown's come on, and that now it's so accessible to so many different people, and it's a real tourist destination.
Oh, definitely. I totally agree with you with the whole, you know, the celebrations. I remember just some people can be quite put off with going into Chinatown whenever there's a big celebration like Lunar New Year and stuff, but it's just, no, I just love it. I love the atmosphere. I love the buzz. I totally miss line dancing. It's so good. Just the atmosphere that it brings, and you know, like even just going to the restaurants when it's obviously there's a queue outside, but then, you know, the waitresses, they're just going at really, really fast speed. It's like, you know, eat, you know, and then, you know, they quickly turn the tables around and for the next, you know, for the next lot of customers to come. So good. Oh, I miss it so much.
Yeah, I agree.
So much. I miss it so much. And it's interesting what you said earlier when you said you remember. Maybe not, yeah, you remember like back in the day where Chinatown was more for, it wasn't really catered for people outside the Chinese community. Because right now it's such a, it's like the heart of, for me, I feel like Chinatown London is like the heart of London. I feel like it's impossible for people to visit London without visiting Chinatown. And even if you don't intentionally want to or need to go to Chinatown, you end up there anyway, because you've got to kind of get there to get through to like Piccadilly Circus, or to get through to Oxford Circus. It's just so amazing. So I do have something to ask you though, Lucy. I did a bit of so last year I went on a tour of Chinatown with Chinatown Exchange, and I found out that SeeWoo were the first company or like supermarket to import bak chai.
Yes.
And I just want to thank you for that, because I love bak chai.
That is so true. And Stanley, you can always find him even now at 78 sort of poking around the vegetable section. So something that we're really well renowned for, I think, over the years is our selection of authentic vegetables. It's something that's, you know, very special about SeeWoo, and yes, that is one of his claims to fame.
Oh, thank you so much, Stanley, for listening to this. Honestly, I was just so like, how did that kind of come about though? Like, what was his idea? And where was Stanley? Where were you getting the bak chai before? Like, how how did it all happen? Do you know?
Well, he was importing from China, so he was airlifting. And even today we still we airlift the green veg, the sort of more tender veg from China, and then we also ship some of the longer sort of more durable veg like lotus root over the sea. But also now it's so different. It's evolved so much because there's lots of different farms in Europe growing authentic Asian veg, and the same in the UK. You can source it in the UK, although a lot of our customers who are quite discerning say it's not the same because I guess the soil, the conditions, the water, it doesn't taste the same. So so they want sort of China sourced vegetables. But yeah, I mean, I think that again, it is down to demand, and it's something that is really, really popular lines of ours, our fresh veg, our fresh fish, our fresh meat cuts. But just the thing that you said about Chinatown and how exciting it is, just thinking about Emily and her business. I've been to quite a few different Chinatowns in the world, and I really honestly, and I know I'm a little bit biased, just a tiny bit, but I do think that Chinatown London is one of the best, and it's so progressive. I've been to a couple in America and, some quite major cities, and they're kind of like it was in the 1970s here. Whereas in Chinatown London, like Cuppacha, and your ice cream and your desserts and also the whole Southeast Asian portfolio that is now, and I've seen that develop in the last 10 years through my, since my childhood when it was really all, Chinese restaurants only, seeing, regional Chinese cuisine develop, see Vietnamese, Thai, Malaysian. That's really progressive. And I think that our Chinatown London is sort of, it's like the hub of where all the trends just, across the country, but also, it's something we should be proud of because I think it is one of the best in the world outside of China.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, I completely agree. I feel with Chinatown London, it's not just for the Chinese community, it's really expanded. I feel it's a lot more diverse as well. It's full of East and Southeast Asian restaurants, shops, that a lot. And so on Monday, my partner Ewan and Manisugo Sadie, we went to Chinatown, and normally we would just go for dim sum, and then we would get so full, and then we would just go for a walk and just leave. But this time we went to like so many different places. We went to Little Korea on Lisle Street, and we ordered some food that we normally don't, that we hadn't really ordered before, just because I feel like I just want to try different things. Although dim sum is like right up there, but I think it's really nice that within Chinatown you can try so many different cuisines there. Like it's not just pinpointed just for Chinese food. So I love it. And Emily, I went to so basically, let me show you a picture. So I went to Tayakiya, and I had the most amazing matcha tea. You know what? I actually, when I walked down to Newport Court, I saw a massive queue. I was like, what are these people queuing for? They're queuing for a Cuppacha. There was such a big queue outside. But because I had Sadie, like, it was just thought, we go somewhere else. But we actually went just along this the road, went to Tayakiya. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but I don't know if you can see.
Oh, yeah.
It was so tasty.
My kids love Cuppacha.
Oh,
thank you.
So good. And Emily, I'm really intrigued to find out more about how you started your business, the idea of it, and obviously you've branched out a little bit as well. So do you mind sharing your story there?
Yes, definitely. I don't know where to start because it's like so much, especially when you do your introduction. It brings back so much memory. You nearly bring tears to my eye. Like, honestly, I never planned to start a business. I never thought that I would be doing my own business in this country. And then the journey is pretty much like how you started. I can relate a lot in your experience. So for myself, I don't born here. I'm a Malaysian Chinese. So I came to this country for my study in university, and then I got job here and started to work. So in my mind, I was always thinking that I will be going back to Malaysia one day. After my 2-3 years of working experience, I'll be back to my home country and then continue there. But just like how you say, and at the end, you're stuck here for like nearly 20 years now, and then you start to have your family here and your kids, and then you just can't like live because of a lot of things that provided to us. And here is like so much better and brighter and fair, I would say. And of course, Chinatown play a big part in this. Like when you say every time when you go to Chinatown, especially when during my uni time and first few years of working, so Chinatown is not like so convenient and so easy to get to place. It's like once a month thing or twice a month thing. So whenever you go, you will plan that, oh, I definitely need to go to this dim sum place, and then I'm going to supermarket to get all my rice, definitely my rice and my soya sauce, oil and everything, this heavy stuff. And of course, at that time, we haven't got so many other dessert options. So your plan will be like, okay, dim sum, and then supermarket shopping, and then maybe I walk around like in Covent Garden, then back to Chinatown for dinner of roast dog and or other cuisine, and then you'll be heading back with like lots of things, like carrying them, like trying to put that in your backpack and carry them back. And then also I remember like when my parents came and also my in-law came here, then they would always like go to Chinatown with us and then bringing their trolley bag. And I still remember going into SeeWoo, would do a round shopping from the Lotus and then Lotus Road, from the veggie all around to the frozen item to rice, Then when it come out, and then we will stuff them into the trolley bag and carry them back to home. So that's basically the journey over here. And then later on, but the business, like it was through travel to Taiwan and Hong Kong. Me and my husband, of course, both of us ran the business together. So we went to Taiwan and we tried bubble tea, and then I'm such a big fan of bubble tea. And then when I came back to London, I was like still craving for it, and I couldn't like find one like authentic, especially bubble tea shop. So I usually replace it with like iced tea in Starbucks, or you might get some in the restaurant. So that's why then I start to think, oh, why can't London or UK have like a bubble tea shop, and then start to explore into the business, and then went through a very long journey to look for a shop. And then of course I never dreamed that I would have a shop in Chinatown, like so central. But I've been to so many places around London, like Camden, Islington, King Cross, wherever. I still remember the search was like so long because that time I have a full-time job. And then I think I spent like maybe a year or a year and a half to just to get the right location. And I was so lucky. I have to say so lucky that I got the shop that right now we are trading at. Because that time, that shop, I still remember very clearly that I walked past, like every time when I walk past Chinatown, I was like, oh, look at those shops. Oh, how could I afford like such a big shop? I never thought that will be that location. And then there was once we walked past Newport Court. That time, Newport Court is not like now, before it transformed, it's kind of like a small alley. That there's some small shops there, and the opposite we have this inside shop that have small store that's selling those cute things there. And then we walk past this shop that sell watches, I think. Yeah, I remember souvenir watches. I think it's watches. I was like telling my husband, oh, this shop would be perfect for us to do. And one day they're on the market, and then we try, and then I was so lucky that we got that shop, and I just feel so grateful.
Oh, wow. So were you one of the first bubble tea shops to open in Chinatown?
That time when we were open, I think we have a few, but not in like Chinatown. So I think, yeah, we are the first one who opened like bubble tea specialists in Chinatown.
Well done.
It was like, so I think it was quite challenging because a lot of people have been telling us, oh, it's not easy to create in Chinatown, you would know maybe this needs you might have some people come and ask for like, money or things like that, and it's not so straightforward. It would be more complicated than you think. So obviously we mm, didn't have any expectation, or we just thought that we have the opportunity to just grab it and do it. But thanks that we didn't experience any of that. The people that we see, they're all so lovely, and then the customer, like you said, so diversified. We have so many different type of customer, like locals, the people that work around in the city. We have a lot of students and tourists, so many different kind of people that will come to Chinatown.
Yeah, it's so it's such a mad thought, because I remember when I used to come to Chinatown when I was a kid. So we used to like bunk off school like once a year during Wimbledon. We used to bunk off school on a Tuesday, we closed the shop, and then my parents you can't book off school now, but my parents used to drive us down to London, and we'd park the car in the car park in Chinatown, so that's still there. We'd park the car there, and then we'd get a tube to Wimbledon, we'd watch the tennis, and then we'd come back to Chinatown, and we'd go to Wongay's. And I remember, I don't know why, but in my head back then, it felt like everything was just Chinese. There's Chinese restaurants, Chinese supermarkets, there's maybe like a Chinese like a video, like a cassette store, a Chinese shop selling Chinese, like bits and bobs. But now it's just evolved so much. Like, you've got your, bubble tea shop, and you've got Tayakiya. There's just so much choice now, and it's just it's amazing. And I remember just that on Monday, the bank holiday Monday, when I was sat just just having some food in those those benches outside
Newport
just outside
Place.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then like there's just so many new places open down Newport Court. It's just, there's so many now. And then me and my partner just say, oh yeah, it's the New Kids on the Block. I don't know. And the whole day I had New Kids on the Block songs in my head and stuff. But it's just so amazing as well. And Emily, can you tell me more about Tayakiya as well, how that came about?
So Tayakiya is basically taiyaki is actually the fish waffle. It's from Japan. So Tai is actually the fish, say brain, and then yaki is egg. So that's how taiyaki. That's what it means. And then ya is house. So Tayakiya is simply just fish waffle house, like fish bake house. Yeah. So traditionally, taiyaki in Japan, they have like red bean or custard paste. So and then when we got this idea to like bring this up, because the same thing again, because I'm a dessert fan, and then I thought that taiyaki is like so nice, and then I haven't got like it's not so popular in London, so we're gonna bring this in to the market. And then of course in London they are like we have so many different kind of culture people, that's why we bring in a lot of different flavor to the taiyaki. Instead of just red bean and custard, we also do a lot other flavors and even savory flavors, like kimchi cheese, the savory one, which is quite very popular as well, like tuna melt, kimchi cheese. And for the sweet one we do like purple sweet potato and Nutella. Yeah. So yeah, so
nice.
when you think of like Chinatown, London, then you will automatically relate to like there's so many different culture people that will love like different kind of flavors, and you will start to like have a lot of ideas to do things in a better. I mean, it's like not to say better. I mean to suit
modern.
Yeah. Yeah. And also the ice cream. We know that want something to have, because in my childhood time, I love this ice cream that wrapped in bread in my country, that which I can't find it here. So that's why we come across that actually you can do that on the waffle as well. And then that's how we come up with the fish waffle ice cream, and then do a bit of decoration. Because me myself, I love to do like a lot of bakery. So that's a kind of the idea to decorate with like pretty sugar paste, Little Mermaid and unicorn.
Oh. I'd
Boy.
I'd seen that you had these little fishes, like the fish waffles, and then you had some. There was is it like a filling inside it as well, like a chocolate filling or custard filling inside it?
You have like chocolate, Nutella banana, and then you also Nutella marshmallow. So basically, you can pick the range of flavors that you like. Yeah.
Me and Lucy are just sat here just drooling.
I love dessert. You know, when my kids, I make them work in the shop as well in their holidays, and they come down to Cuppacha all the time. But I'm in Chinatown next week. I'm coming down to get a waffle.
And Emily, do you have any other plans to open up anything else in Chinatown or wherever? Do you have any other?
Right now, not really at the moment, because we want to take it easy, especially this period of time, and then so we just expand when there's proper locations or market that we see. So right now, I think we just keep it as it is for now, and then
Yeah. And what's your best-selling I was going to say best-selling dishes. I'm just automatic, so it's not dishes. What's your best-selling items that you have in both your stores?
For Cuppacha, definitely the pearl milk tea, the most traditional one. That's always the top one best-selling item, and then for the other one will be the ombre tea, which will have the ombre color changing tea. So a lot of you didn't know that. They thought that that's coloring, but actually it's not. We actually top it with the butterfly pea tea, which is the blue tea, which is full of antioxidant in it. So when you actually mix it in with like other flavors, it will change the color. So that's one of our popular for now.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna have to definitely come back. And this is a question, I mean, we kind of touched on this, but I just wanted to just ask you both, how much does Chinatown London mean to you both? Like either as a store owner, or MD at SeeWoo, or just as an individual, how much does Chinatown mean to you?
Well, for me, I think so. Obviously, the store is just part of the business, but it's the oldest part of the business, and it has the most history behind it. And I think that I think Chinatown. I think I'm a bit in love with Chinatown as a place, actually. I think just what it offers, and I think the progression through the last 20 years is incredible. And I've got a lot of fond memories of places from my childhood, restaurants, Joiking Lao, all the different floors, all the different stairs. I've got lots of different memories from my childhood, and Chinatown Bakery. But I think, all those lovely old established businesses are still there, which is wonderful. And then you've got these new emerging businesses, different cuisines, like Emily's, or different themes, dessert themes, drinks themes, and then different cuisines, we touched on with the other Southeast Asian flavors. And the thing I think that's one of the things about COVID that's really just been lovely, and I really hope it stays, is the alfresco. Because I think that has because again, if you go back to Chinatown when I was a child a little bit, it was this amazing sort of sensory assault, but it was also wasn't somewhere you go necessarily late at night. It was, it had some slightly darker sides to it that I can remember from my childhood, my father talking about, and I think that to see it clean up in the last, 20, 30 years is lovely. And then I think the alfresco dining has just taken it to that next level. And, it makes it a real destination. It's not just somewhere you go to have quick dim sum or whatever and then go and do your shopping. It's now somewhere where you go and have a drink and you go and you meet your friends for a little bit longer and you maybe spend out. I don't know. I think the journey it's gone on is fascinating and actually representative of, the Chinese in the UK.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with you there, because I know every time I've sat there on those benches, you always, because there's so many different places to grab food and to eat, it's just quite nice to see people sat there eating it. And then you kind of, with me, because I'm quite nosy, I'm like, oh, what are they eating? It's like, excuse me, where'd you get the ice cream from? And then you just start talking to people, and I think it's just really social. And I'm with you as well. I hope they keep those alfresco dining there as well. So yeah, how about you, Emily? How much does the Chinatown London mean to you?
A lot actually. So if you say back to like uni time until now, so that Chinatown place is always like the destinations that you will meet your friends, and then the place that you will go after celebrations, like graduations. Remember, we went there straight after the graduation for celebrate, and then especially when you have like the special events, like the special days and Chinese calendar, like the Mid-Autumn Festival, Chinese New Year. Those are Chinatown is definitely the place that you will go to grab things like the moon cakes and like zhong, the cooking rice, this kind of place. And as for now, it's even more meaningful like to the next generation, because I have two girls now. So I think Chinatown is like so important. Like every time when we go there, then we start to talk about like the history, the heritage, like especially like when we're having dim sum, then we start to tell the girls like, oh, why people tap the table when they fill your tea. So, and then we'll talk about, Chinese will eat this on this certain days, and we'll have that and things like that. And then when you go into supermarket, when you see others fruits, especially fruits like from the Southeast Asia, then you say, oh, this the rambutan from Malaysia, this durian, this kind of things that you can kind of like introduce them a bit about the heritage, like the background of like the Chinese. And like I said, because I'm Malaysian Chinese, and sometimes I think you mentioned before as well just now, identity is so important, especially when we are here now, and then our next generations. Then sometimes I find that they might have a bit of confusions, like in terms of their identity, but who they are. Because to them, they would think that they're born here, they are Chinese, they're British. But I think it's important to like make them understand the background as well, as in like where the parents from, where the grandparents from. So Chinatown is always like the best place that you can relate to.
Yeah. Oh, lovely. And without being biased on both your ends, what would be your, just say, so the kids are at home, you don't need to work, you're on your own, what would your ideal day out be, or even evening be in Chinatown London? Like, where would you go? What would you eat? What would you do? Whilst you guys are thinking about it, I'll show you mine.
Okay.
So I'm on my own, because as a parent, when you're on your own, it's a blessing, isn't it? It's a blessing. So if I was on my own, I'm in Chinatown, I would have a little backpack and a spare bag, and I would go to lots of different shops, and I'd buy lots of different things, food. I'd obviously go to SeeWoo. I do my Chinese shopping. I'd get my bak chai. I'd buy some different types of noodles, and I would basically stock up stuff for the kitchen as well. I would also get some at this point, I'm probably feeling a bit peckish. I'd probably have like a tassie bell from somewhere, and then I would go for dim sum. So I don't have a one type of restaurant that I would go to. I normally just go to Lido, But I'm starting to kind of go visit loads of different restaurants now, so I'm not really loyal to one. So I'd go and have some dim sum, and then I'd go for another walk. I'd probably get a bubble tea, go to Cuppacha, and I would end up, my final destination would be in Opium, which is honestly like, it's like, I think it's Chinatown's hidden gem, I think.
Behind the green door.
It's just a green door Opium. And you go up all these stairs. I've not been there since I've had a Sadie. You go all these stairs, and then all of a sudden you get to like a Chinese speakeasy, and they make the most amazing cocktails, and Opium is my favorite cocktail place. And that's basically, if I had like a few hours to myself, that'd be my day out in Chinatown London. So yeah. How about you, Emily?
Oh, so difficult, there's so many choices, so
I
many.
know.
I think definitely start with dim sum as well. Yeah, and then it'll be shopping, Chinese grocery, and I will definitely take my time to browse, because it's like not your ordinary Tesco or Waitrose things. It's like sometimes you get to see some new import stuff that's so exciting, like new snack, new fruits, new sauce. That's so it's just so exciting that you would like to, oh, they got this from, and things like that. And then I really miss Kaolong, the bakery that used to be there. I think right now the one that's not the old one, I don't know. I just miss the old one. Their bolo bao and their tantan is like super, super nice.
Which one's Kaolong? Is that the one that's next to the arcade machine? The arcade place?
Yes.
Kaolong. Yeah. That's still there, is it not? I think.
The bolo bao and the tantan is just different. I can tell. I mean, I remember when my sister or my friend, they came, the first place I bring them will be the tantat in Kaolong. So I miss their bolo bao and the tantat so much. So yeah, and I definitely go to the Chinese bakery, to grab some buns and tantat. And then I love Four Seasons roast duck. I think I'll get like roast duck rice, and their lai tong, their soup is always the best. And so I will join you in Opium.
Go to Opium. How about you, Lucy? What would your dream day or evening in Chinatown London be?
Well, let's think. So I might start in Opium. So we used to do for a few years, 3 years now, we did an event called Baijiu Cocktail Week in Opium. And I love Opium, just like you. I think it's just the best place. It's tucked away. So many people don't know about it. Cocktails are fantastic. And I also love the fact it's like a little doll's house, isn't it? All the different bars and all the different floors makes it so interesting and sort of intimate. But no, I probably wouldn't start there. But I would definitely go for dim sum, because I love dim sum. And I don't know where I'd go, because I'd be tempted to go to some of my old childhood favorites just to reminisce. But I also, there's so many different restaurants in Chinatown that do great dim sum. There's some on Lyle Street. So a couple of doors down from us is a great dim sum restaurant, quite small. I only started going there about 10 years ago. And, because Lyle Street's a little bit off the beaten track, people think, oh, Gerald Street, that's where we're going. So there's some great little restaurants there. So I would definitely take in dim sum. I would definitely be having some of your bubble tea, Emily, and I would be having your ice cream, because I love ice cream. And my kids would kill me. My kids are off, they're teenagers. One's at uni and one's doing his A-levels. So, but if I didn't, they love Gei Mei Bao. So I would definitely go and get some Gei Mei Bao from the Chinatown Bakery. And then I might just sit in Newport Place and people watch a bit, actually.
Yeah.
Because I love to see, you still see people coming to do their weekly shopping, and then you see the tourists, and I just love that. So I would probably do that. And then I would also go and stand under the the pagoda, the arch on Wardour Street. I would stand under that and I would take a photo, because I love standing under there, and I love looking up at the sky against the different colours. Yeah, I just love it. So.
Oh, amazing.
But I wouldn't go shopping because I spend all my time when I'm at the shop. When I'm not at the other businesses, so I wouldn't go shopping. But I do love SeeWoo. Of course.
Lucy, I've got a question to ask you. Are you ever out of stock with kitchen stuff in your own home? Like, do you ever have the problem that we have? Like, people that don't work in a supermarket, do you ever think, oh, I forgot to get, my oyster sauce, I forgot to get rice or whatever? Do you have that as well? Or
yeah, I've got a little story for you actually, which you might enjoy. So my husband, who's English, we've got some of his colleagues coming for dinner on Saturday night, work colleagues, and I'm going to cook Chinese. So I got all my stuff sent back from Chinatown today to head office, and it's all ready to cook. And I said to Mum, we must get some disposable chopsticks. And he said, I cannot believe that you, who you are, don't own a good set of chopsticks for like 8 or 10 people, because I've got loads of chopsticks, but I've got from my childhood, it's all mismatched. So if I'm laying a table, I've got lovely, pretty little bowls. And so I thought, actually, yeah, he's absolutely right. That's an absolute disgrace. I need to get myself. So yes, I do, because I don't know. I don't know what my excuse for it is, but I've got loads of pairs of chopsticks, probably about 100, and I've probably only got about 4 that match.
That's so funny.
Very common. That's happened to us as well.
I think from an outsider's point of view, I think it's really inspiring how there's just so many choices for bubble tea, for desserts. Like, it's not just like the one place that people would have to go to. And I think it's just amazing how there's just so much choice in Chinatown London. And I think, Lucy, we were saying earlier that, back in the day, there wasn't any of that. At all. Like, I reckon when my dad started taking us down to London, Chinatown London, I don't think there was anywhere for us to eat like Korean food. I don't think there was any of that. I don't think there was an actual dessert place. I think there was just the bakeries, which I still love, traditional bakeries. But I don't think there was anywhere where you could get, like a tea or a coffee. So Lucy, when you were saying you were sitting Newport Place, I have a particular spot that I always try and get. I always try and get the table that's next to Jen's Cafe, because I just like to watch. Just like to watch them making all the gaudi, and they're so quick on, and they just churn it out so quickly. So so that would be my go-to place. So
actually, I forgot to say, where I would finish off my evening, I would go to Jin Lee and I would sit outside, and I would, because I love their fish, their deep fried fish.
Oh, really?
Chili. Oh my god, I love Sichuan. I like spicy anyway, and they do this deep fried fish, which is unbelievable.
Which one's Jin Lee? Is that the newer one?
Jin Lee. Yes, there's 2 Jin Lees actually. There's one near to Joy King Lau, and the newer one is in Newport Place, and it's nearest to the car park.
Right. Okay.
And that's great food. I love it.
Oh, amazing. I've never
something
been.
Different, isn't it? Something a bit different to the normal. I think that's what it's really. I mean, it's properly spicy and lovely Sichuan, yummy.
Oh, amazing. You get your kids to help out during the school holidays.
My daughter's been packing our Wei On fish balls and Chung Fun and Ho Fun today in the chiller at our head office. So she's been there with her gloves on, her hat on. She's in her uni holidays.
Emily, where can we find you in real life and also on social media?
It's a Cuppacha and Taiyakiya is on Newport Court in Chinatown, and then for Instagram, Cuppacha is at I love Cuppacha, and then for Tayakiya is at I love Tayakiya.
Oh, brilliant! Oh, thank you so much. This has been so lovely speaking to you both. I've been such a big fan of both of you in terms of, you know, SeeWoo and Cuppacha and Taiyakiya. It's just so amazing that I'm actually speaking to you. Such a privilege. Massive thank you to Chinatown London for collaborating with me here. My first collab, and I'm so touched it's with you guys. If you're in London, don't forget to visit Chinatown London and use the hashtag #OurChinatown. You can find them on social media as well at Chinatown London, which I will leave in my show notes.